And no. There we are. All right, yesterday, if we remember, we learned about needles. And we said that if the needle is a type of needle that you would keep around, or if it's the type of needle that you would use for taking out splinters from your hand or something, then you can, it's not muktzeh. It's not muktzeh at all. Depends pretty much what your mind is on it. If it's the type of thing you would throw away, and it just happened you didn't throw it away, you can't change your mind on Shabbat. I mean, you can change your mind, but that doesn't change its status. It still is considered to be muktzeh. Next law. Here are more things that are dealing with your mind, what you think about them. And some things are muktzeh only for poor people, only for rich people, I'm sorry. And for poor people, they're not. Other things, it depends. If you're going to throw them away, then they automatically become unusable, untouchable on Shabbat. So let's learn. Pieces of cloth, pieces of garments, pieces of carpet. It used to be very common that people used to use these sort of carpets from mats, a mat of like rope or something similar. It's called a machzalot. Famous Abu Chatzera, I guess Chatzera somehow or other fits in with this. Anyway, he was called the Baba Salih. They say that he flew on a carpet to Israel. So they say. Anyway, machzelet, somehow or other that's connected with the word machzelet, Abu Chatzera. Shiri pieces of carpet, mats, a floor mat. Like we say, it was made from like loosely woven rope or hemp or something. These mats, the shabalu, that are all worn out, even though that they're not fit. Now remember, these are laws of muktzeh, right? Muktzeh. Even though that they're not fit to sit on anymore, because they're all wrecked up and there's some. Nevertheless, it's permissible to carry them on Shabbat. They are not considered to be muktzeh. Shalom nifka me'em shem kli. That did not go away from them the status of being a vessel. And we said anything that's a vessel means you can carry it. If it's a vessel that's for a permissible purpose, then you can carry it just to save the vessel. If it's in the sun, you can move it. If it's a vessel for a forbidden purpose, like we say, like a hammer, then you can move it to use the hammer, let's say to crack nuts or something, or if the place where it's in. But it has to be a vessel. Well, this is a vessel. A worn out piece of a floor mat is movable. It's not muktzeh on Shabbos. Hoyel v'heim rued, because it is still fitting, lechasod behem ezetinuf, because you can sometimes use it to cover over some sort of dirty thing on the floor, like a rag, right? A floor rag. V'im zorkan, okay, so therefore, one of these floor mats, let's say it gets cut up and it breaks off, right? But you would still use it to cover over some sort of, mess that fell on the ground. You would cover it over. So therefore, because it's still usable, it's still considered to be a vessel, and it's considered to be a vessel that's for permissible purpose, not muktzeh. But if you throw away this piece of a floor mat into the garbage, maybe Odyom, before it was Shabbos, then on Shabbat, if you change your mind, and let's say there's some filth that falls on the ground, you want to cover it up, can't take it out of the garbage. Asr l'chalutin. Kamoshi is like we explained before in breaking. So generally speaking, this is a law. Let's say, for instance, let's take a good example. You have a rag, a dish rag. You have a dish rag, and you threw it away before Shabbat. You threw it away. You don't want it anymore. Have a couple holes in it there. You threw it away. And now, all of a sudden on Shabbat, there falls on the ground oil or something like that, and you want to cover it up. But you don't want to wreck one of your, I got a good idea. I'll go in the garbage. I'll take this thing out. Can't do it. Or if you want to take it out, you can take it out, yes, but you have to take it out with your toes or with your teeth or with your elbow or something. But you can't take it out with your hand. It's muktzeh because you threw it away. That, by the way, is what muktzeh means. Muktzeh means that you've separated yourself or you've separated it from you. Muktzeh, you've pushed it away. Here's a bit of a long one. Up to now, what are we talking about? We're talking about floor mats but matlonios. But if we're talking about rags, I just brought you the example of this dish rag. I shouldn't have really brought that example. But nevertheless, it's still, you'll see, it's a valid example. But on the previous one, we were talking about mats for the ground. But if it's matlonias, what are matlonias? Matlonias are pieces of garment, rags, parts of garments. Shabalu. But a lot of times you see an old undershirt that had holes in it. So you rip it up and you can use it for a rag or something like that. So it says, if there is not in the pieces of these rags 3 fingers by 3 fingers, what does it mean 3 fingers? The width of your thumb. The thumb, put one thumb next to the other, that's 2 fingers. Add another one on the side, that's 3 fingers. If it's not 3 fingers by 3 fingers square, then it's forbidden to carry it. If it's too small, why? She'enu ruyas lo la'aniyim v'lo le'shirim. Not poor people and not rich people will use it. Now, you might have to sort of translate this into our terms, but let's leave it the way it is. Let's just leave it the way it is nowadays. So generally speaking, let's say 3 fingers by 3 fingers. Let's see, how big is that? 1, 2. Here, I'll give you an example over here. Watch this. Here. Ready? 1. I'm measuring a piece of it. 1, 2, 3. That's like up to about here. There it is. Like this. I'm going to give you a picture of how big this is. And the same thing is over here. 1, 2, 3. Here we got this much. All right. This is pretty small. If you have your piece is this big, can I show this to you? Let's see, without losing the whole business over here. How can I do this? I don't know exactly how to do it. I haven't really
just put it in front of your face.
Huh? You can see anything?
Yeah, of course.
1 second. You don't see the writing?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. When you started talking about drawing this, I flipped to your face. But yeah, you're showing the writing. But still, if you can, we can see both.
Oh, here it is. Here I see. Here's my face. Here we go. Here it is. There I am. Oh, see, there it is. This big. Next to my face. Huh?
Like a cloth that wipes your glasses.
I'm sorry?
It's like the size of a cloth that wipes your glasses.
Right. Here's my hand.
Yeah.
I have sort of a big hand. That's if of rag is this big, then it's not muktzeh. If it's smaller than this, you have to throw it away. 3 on 3. That's what I mean. 3. 1, 2, 3. See, that's how big. 3. Okay. If it's that size, then not so big. 3 on 3. Okay. If it's 3 fingers by 3 fingers, right? If there is 3 fingers on 3 fingers, then you can carry it because it's fitting for a poor person, but not for a rich person. If you're a rich person, then nobody would use this. I think we fit into the category of rich people because who would use a thing like this? Look how small it is. Ve'im yesh bayam gimel al gimel. if they have these little pieces of rags that come from a garment, right? A torn shirt or something, it's this big piece of it, and they belong to a poor person. So poor person, then it's permissible for every poor person in the world to carry it, to move it. Shehem ruyum, they're fitting for them. What do they use it for? For patches on their garments. Poor people put patches on their garments. Now, I mean, I don't know everybody that's listening into this class, but do you ever put a patch in your garment? Never done such a thing. I put a patch in my garment. I don't think it ever happened, which means that I just never was poor enough. Never was poor enough.
Today it's tricky.
What?
You never patched a pair of
Today it's
jeans?
a trend.
No, never patched my jeans. Never patched my jeans, I have to admit. I know that there's some people that put like a round patch on the corner of their...
On the jacket.
Yeah, on their jacket or something like that, because that's supposed to be cool. But that's not what we're talking about. This is, and then you go and you buy a patch. You buy a nice patch. It costs you whatever, $20 for a patch. Here it's talking about a shmata that's this big, and people keep it because if they have a hole in their garment, they use this to cover over the hole.
So Rov, you can't carry a handkerchief on Shabbos.
A handkerchief, why not? A handkerchief is much bigger.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Nobody, if a handkerchief's like this, nobody has a handkerchief like this. Nobody has a nose that does. No Jew has a nose that does, for sure. Huh?
You have to clean your glasses. Sometimes they've got these small little cloths.
Good, right? If you do, then you can touch it and carry it. If it has a purpose, sure. Good point. The Rebbe didn't make that point over here. Here he says that people only use small patches, pieces of paper, pieces of cloth that are this big to make a patch on their garments. But what you said, if it's used for cleaning your glasses, then it's a purpose. You've singled it out. Elim Cain, unless the poor person threw it in the garbage. If the poor person threw it in the garbage before Shabbos came in, then any poor person that has a piece of cloth that's this big, he can move it, touch it, do it, etc. Or like you said, if you have a piece of cloth, let's say that's this big, I don't think there is such a thing. As far as I know, the pieces that are used for wiping your glasses are not this small, are they? They're bigger than that. Huh? Isn't it true? The cloth that's used for cleaning your glasses is usually
definitely bigger.
Huh?
They're definitely bigger.
Yeah, definitely. It's twice this big, let's say. Something like that. Because it's not very practical, right? What are you going to do with it? It's very hard to use it to clean your glasses. A little bit over here. You want to clean both sides? Nah. I think this is relevant very much to us also. Even people, let's say you want it for cleaning glasses, but if it's smaller than this, it's muktzeh, because nobody will use it. It's not usable. What does it mean? Only poor people can use it. Because poor people would use little things like that. Listen, okay, only poor people use it because things that are this small, you only use as a patch on your garment, and the only one that puts patches are poor people. Unless this poor person threw the patch in the garbage before Shabbos. What's that? What's going on? But Ashirin, rich people, they cannot move these little patches. They can't touch it. Rich person. Even though the patches belong to a poor person and the poor person can touch it, nevertheless, and you're a good friend with this poor person, nevertheless, a piece that's this big, you cannot touch it. How big does it have to be for a rich person to touch it? Gimel tefachim al gimel tefachim. 3 tefachim on 3 tefachim. What is 3 tefachim? 3 tefachim means approximately, let's see, this big, 1, 2. It's about as big as a piece of paper, square. Square. Here, here. It's a pretty big piece. It's a pretty big shmata. Right? Here, it has to be this big here, like this. So it will look like this. piece has to look like this big, square, also here. If it's not this big, then a rich person cannot use it. Right here, let's get a. Right, it has to be this, but this corner also is filled. It's a pretty big piece. Huh? A rich person cannot move a rag unless it is 3 hand breadths by 3 hand breadths, right? Like a square piece of paper, like square. Then it's fitting for rich people. A rich person that lives in his house, okay, rich person, then a rich person, because less than that, a rich person will use it to wipe things up or something, but they don't use it for patches. They don't use it for a patch. Okay, so again, just a short, a piece of a garment, a rag, a shmata. If it is for a poor person, it has to be bigger than 3 fingers. 3 fingers. Let's say this by this, right? That's how big it has to be. A rich person, it has to be at least as big as 3 hand breadths. 1, 2, 3. Let's say this big. That big by that big. What about a rich person that lives in the house of a poor person? He's traveling or something. The one who's the owner of these patches, who nigrar achar balabayit, then the rich person goes according to the law of the poor person, and it's permissible for him to carry pieces of torn garments even though they are not fitting for him. Why? Because they are fitting for the house owner, and the house owner is poor. So therefore, the measurement is 3 fingers by 3 fingers. Anything bigger than that is permissible to carry, permissible to touch, both for the poor person and the rich person who's living in his house. But what if a rich person is living in his house and he has pieces of shmatas that are less than 3 hand breadths on 3 hand breadths? It is forbidden for all of the poor people in the world. Why? Because the rich person who owns these shmatas, it's muktzeh for him. Therefore, balim ashirim, because it can't be used by a rich person. Therefore, it is muktzeh for everybody, because it's just like it was thrown in the garbage by the owner. So a poor person that lives in the house of a rich person, and the rich person has a shmata, which is this big by this big, but it's a little bit less than 3 tefachim, 3 hand breadths. And for a poor person, 3 hand breadths, that's like, 10 times as big as what his minimum. Too bad. The poor person goes after the rich person. And it's forbidden to touch. Because it's not fit for the owner, namely the rich person. It is forbidden for the whole world. Because it made as though it's thrown, the owner threw it in the garbage. A rich person, a piece of cloth, a piece of shmata, not just a cloth, a piece of shmata rag that's smaller than 3 tefachim on 3 tefachim, by him it's already oisvarf. It's thrown into the garbage. It's not worth anything. Can't then be called anything similar. Some people say that any rags that are part of a garment, even though they're not even 3 by 3 fingers, even though they're smaller than 3 fingers on 3 fingers, it's permissible for everybody to carry. Why? Because they're fit to wipe up something. Like you said, the example, some people want to clean their glasses just from the outside, a little piece of cloth, good enough for him. And there's no difference between 3 fingers and 3 fingers or less than that, except one example. It says in the Gemara, they do make a difference. They do differentiate. If it's smaller than 3 fingers, right? 3 finger breadths, and it's no good. What's that talking about? Here it says it is good. So what's the Gemara talking about? Pieces of a talis shel mitzvah. If a person had a talit that you do a mitzvah with, that a person separates himself from it, from milakaneach bo, a person will not use a piece of a talit, even though it's permissible. You're supposed to, a talit, you're not supposed to use, you can throw a talit into the garbage if you want to. It says the strings, it's better to put them in a thing, but it's nothing holy. A talit, and there's nothing. It's like a slaughtering knife, or like a Chanukah menorah. It's not holy. It's you use it to do a mitzvah with. But nevertheless, a talit of a mitzvah, people don't use it to wipe up dirt and things like that. Come on, to wash your car with. So that's when they make the distinction between how big for a rich person, for a poor person, 3 fingers, 3 hands. Okay, so we have 2 opinions. One says that all rags have to be measured. If it's less than 3 fingers, if it's less than 3 fingers, that even poor people can't use it. If it's less than 3 handbreadths, then rich people can't use it. And other people say there's no such thing. We don't care how big or how small a piece is, even if it's tiny. If anybody uses it, everybody can use it. That's the second opinion. Says the Rebbe, the main opinion is like the first one, that we have to measure everything. That just because a piece of cloth, a rag, is usable, doesn't mean that it is considered to be a vessel, unless you specially set it aside. And this is like what we're talking about before. If you have a little tiny piece of cloth and you use this cloth to wash your glasses with it, whatever, clean your glasses, then no matter how small it is, it's a vessel for you. Sha'av shivrei shar kelim, because like we said before, if a vessel breaks, it's no longer considered to be, the little pieces aren't a vessel on them, even though you can use them some, unless you specially set it aside for something, right? A bottle breaks in the weekday, and you set it aside, little pieces that aren't worth anything. You want one of these pieces to cover over another bottle with. Or she'll ruin the smoke, or maybe you can use it just to rest something on top of it. Elim can ru'im lakisa kli, like we said before. So therefore, we do measure. If it's smaller than 3 fingers by 3 fingers, no one can use it. If it's smaller than 3 hand breadths, then only poor people can use it. As we'll learn, God willing, more tomorrow. See everybody tomorrow at 8:15. We're learning a beautiful mimer tomorrow. All right, are the Tesslers here? Tesslers? Yes.